Hello and welcome to the Bite-Sized Resources at the Greek Theatre at Warwick. This video is a sequel to the one about the messenger speech in Sophocles Antigone. The messenger speech reports a mysterious storm, and today we are taking a look at the storm from a different angle, paying attention to its symbolic meaning and how it contributes to the theme of the play. So, in our last video, we looked at the description of this great storm by the messenger. We discussed how a messenger speech functions in an ancient play to bring the invisible to the mind's eye of the audience. Using the storm as an example, we talked about how it presents the offstage events in a vivid way and how it retains the ambiguity and leaves a lot of space for the audience's imagination. In this video, on the other hand, I want to explore the importance of this messenger speech about this storm by pushing the question further back. Why a storm? Isn't the whole narrative about how they captured Antigone? So how does this storm episode fit into this story and the rest of the play? To think about what the storm might represent, I'm going to suggest three aspects. The first one is related to the overall sense of blinding, shaking, and disturbing with which the wind is depicted. Again, I'm putting the text here for us to refer to. As we might remember, when the storm strikes, the messenger says, it feels like all the trees are shaken and leaves are torn away. The wind might have raised up the dust on the ground, so the guards had to close their eyes. And if we read deeper into the lines, we might dwell a while on the phrase, from the ground. In what way can a wind rise from the ground? Here we might associate the significance of the earth in the story. It is a story about burial, throwing up and covering with dirt and sand. And this action may happen on a larger scale. In the ancient Greek view of the world, earthquake is indeed caused by wind coming beneath and breaking from the ground. Actually, in an earlier choral song, the chorus called the god Dionysus as the shaker of the earth, as they welcome him to join the celebration for the victory. We might remember that the play opens at the morning after the battle in which the Theban army defeated the Argives. It is a joyous occasion, and the shaking of the earth might just refer to the dancing. But the victory, as we know, is also problematic, and the god Dionysus also has a twofold image. If you have watched the videos about Euripides' Bacchae in this collection, you would have known that while Dionysus is a native of Thebes and associated with drinking, dancing, and ecstasy, he is also a chthonic god. He represents the domain of underworld and the fearsome power of overthrowing the civic order. Shall we imagine that here, Dionysus, the god of earthquakes, is lurking behind the scene? Anyway, he will make another presence in the last choral ode of the play, and by that time, his association with the wind and his significance for the play will be fully manifest. Now let's look at the second aspect. At the end of the description, the messenger calls this storm a God-sent affliction. This phrase might suggest that the wind is intentionally sent by some divine power, but also it suggests the huge scale of the wind's impact. It involves everything in the surrounding world, the trees, the ground, and the sky, captured by the term disease. I think Seamus Heaney's rendering of this description, which says, like the sky is vomiting black air, really reproduces this abnormal and frightening experience. But is the disease only an analogy? In fact, the phrase we were discussing in the last video, the storm that is also a pillar and a dust wind, is extremely polysemic. It also means lightning bolt or disease, something that travels quickly and brings fear and disaster. In the two examples I'm showing here, the phrases in bold are translated from the same original Greek word, the one that is translated as storm in our text, skeptos. So again, the text keeps the ambiguity. It is the winged lightning disease that has hit the land. Not only does the disease make its appearance as a localized storm, it also spreads to the entire city. In a physical way, we know the exposed corpse would emanate disease, which the storm seems to help spreading. Later in the play, Tiresias, the prophet of Thebes, tells us that the birds in the city also carry the disease around, as they have eaten the unholy flesh from the body. Apart from this gruesome mechanism, disaster and sorrow in the more abstract sense also spread among the people, here shown in these two passages. Tiresias warns Creon that his household will be filled with lament and the city will confront hostility. And in the last choral song, the chorus asks Dionysus again to come to them, who are in the grip of a plague. So by the end of the play, the disease is among the whole city, as if the wind's impact has permeated through the entire imaginary space. Then lastly, we will look at the theme of madness. Wind is closely associated with mind and intelligence in the Greek imagination. This association can be found in many realms. While the Greek societies rely so much on wind and the sailing for their daily running, it's not difficult to imagine how much wind conditions can shape the physical world and people's well-being. Greek medicine also noted the important differences that different wind makes to certain illnesses, especially the ones related to the brain and the intelligence. We may also note that the terms like psyche and thumos, the words that are usually translated as soul and spirit, have the original meanings in the domain of airy substances. The soul, after all, is made of wind. And in this light, we may read the disturbance in the natural world in the storm scene as an indication of the wind possessing Antigone, like in this remark from the chorus. Antigone's distress, stubbornness, and her unusual desire for death all mirror the great storm that the messenger recounts earlier in the play. Indeed, wind is not a one-off incident in the play, but a continuous theme. It appears in every choral ode and keeps escalating. It indicates the wild world that can only be overcome by the divine here in the third stasimon, and it is the backdrop of the story of the daughter of Boreas who is raised up in the wild windy mountains. By the last choral ode, it is no longer a clear reference. You can find it everywhere. The city is affected by disease, which, as we have discussed, is associated with the wind. And the arrival of the god Dionysus in the chorus's eager imagination is accompanied by a roaring strait and so a strong wind. Is it expected to be refreshing and cleansing, or a dark and confusing force? Again, the ambiguity is retained, and it invites the audience to dwell upon this twofold sentiment of desperation and hope. Now let's talk about the corresponding actions of this offstage wind. If we regard the choral ode as an interlude to the play, in a theatrical reality when it's sung by the chorus, some action might still be happening offstage and then recounted by the character who enters the stage afterwards. In this case, the messenger's speech happens after the most famous choral song in Greek tragedy, the Ode on Man. This song sings about the resourcefulness of the human being, how they conquer the nature, invent things, and how they use the language and wind-swift thought to form ideas and civic rules. However, while the chorus sing the song, the guards were watching over the body, experiencing the great wind and capturing Antigone. When the choral ode celebrates the human achievements, we have this storm happening in the backstage, indicating confusion, disorder, and disease. This strong comparison challenges this convincing celebration of civilization and intelligence. And lastly, I want to re-emphasize the importance of performing this wind in the ancient theater. It is not just a verbal description, and to experience it in the theater would be much more than reading from a text. Not even do you hear the words, you also see the gesture of the characters when they mimic or react upon hearing about the wind. What's more, in an open-air theater, when the audience is exposed to wind and other natural elements, the wind they experience in the performance will have a further dimension of reality. Especially at the Theatre of Dionysus in Athens, the audience members would sit on the south slope and overlook the harbor in Piraeus, where the sea opens in spring due to the good sailing weather and where visitors arrive for the great Dionysia to watch the very plays staged at the theatre. They would be constantly reminded of the winds that enable travel, festival, and the promotion of the civic ideology, and perhaps also how precarious and changeable they might be, as well as the entire civilized world around them. So, the example of the storm wind in the messenger's speech also reminds us about the experience of watching an ancient play. It is never an objective process of appreciating. Rather, the theater contains a lot of affective and enacted emotions. Watching an ancient play is a highly involved, engaging experience. I hope this video gives you some idea about how to understand the significance of the storm in this messenger speech as part of the overall theme of the play and as an example of how ancient Greek theater works. Here are the suggested readings. Thank you very much.